The reason there have been no renovations on the building, the reason there have been no renovations on the building, the reason there has been no renovations on the FDMG Academy campus 4 buildings, there's a two-part answer. Part number one, we have been investigating and fielding HVAC technicians, electricians, and plumbers, fire alarm and security companies to make sure we get the best price, to make sure they can do the work, to make sure they can legally get the permit for the state of Delaware and the city of Wilmington, and to make sure they have expertise in doing commercial level work. That is a very tedious process. We have come across a lot of plumbers, but some of them don't have commercial experience. We have come across a lot of electricians, but some of them were not able to get their license in the state of Delaware or the city of Wilmington. We have come across a lot of HVAC people, but to be honest with you, some of their estimates were too expensive. We received estimates that were more expensive than the cost of the school itself. We received the estimates that were more expensive than the cost of the school itself. Remember, we're operating on limited dollars. We're operating on limited dollars, so we have to find people who can work within our budget. We have to find people who are responsible and reliable, who are not trying to get over on us. This is your money, and I have to spend it wisely. This is your money, and I have to spend it wisely. We have to make sure they can get the materials. We have to make sure they can do the work. We have to make sure they're not running a scam on us. That in and of itself has been a very laborious process. Finding the right people in and of itself has been a very laborious process. With that being said, I believe we have now found a group of professionals who can get the job done. With that being said, I think we have now found a group of professionals who can get the job done. So what is the holdup now if you found the people, Dr. Umar, who can do the work? We've only had the school for a year. We've only had the school for a year. The other problem or the other part of the answer as to why there have been no renovations on the school relates to another suspicious reality that we're dealing with. And that is, we cannot find the original architectural blueprints for the campus. Let me say it again. Before you can do work on a commercial building, you have to have the contracts, the blueprints, the drawings. You got to have them. They have to be registered with license and inspection. The electrician has to look them over to make sure they can understand it and do the work. The HVAC technicians have to look over the blueprints to make sure they can understand them and do the work. The plumber has to look over the blueprints, make sure they can understand it and do the work. We don't have the blueprints. The previous owner did not have the blueprints. Wilmington City License and Inspection has not found. I wanted to give a quick FDMG status update, brothers and sisters. We found the architectural designs. We have the blueprints. Right now, my architect is reviewing the blueprints to determine if there's any changes that need to be made to the blueprints. The Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy is formerly the Moyer Charter School, Black Charter School. Shout out to all the former staff and students of the Moyer Academy. That school was re-outfitted from the ground up approximately 10 years ago. In those 10 years, there could have been changes to the code. In other words, you may have only needed 2 bathrooms per certain number of students. Now you might need 4 bathrooms per certain number of students. You may have only needed 1 fire alarm for every 500 feet. You might need 2 fire alarms for every 500 feet. You may have only needed 1 electrical outlet per 10 feet. Now you might need 2 electrical outlets per 10 feet. So we have to go through the plumbing design, the HVAC design, the electrical design to determine if any of those designs are out of code as of 2020. That's what we're doing. So once that is done, hopefully next week, that's the good news. The bad news is now we got to start re-entertaining those estimates. So now is the time, if you know people in those trades, to get in contact with Dr. Umar so they can put forth their bid for the project.
Of the new campus you guys have bought. So what are the next steps?
Yes, sir. As you know, we acquired the 2 schools on February the 7th of 2019. We had been held up all year, attorney, because we couldn't find the original design blueprints for the campus, which is still a mystery because the school was actually built from the ground not more than 10 years ago. So why can't we find the mechanical blueprints? Nonetheless, we finally caught up with the architect who did them. And so now they are in the hands of my architect in Wilmington, Black architect. And so he now has to update the plans according to 2020.
We got the drawings. $20,000 worth of work right here. $20,000. Architectural designs, plumbing, electric, mechanical, general contractor. Shout out to the donors. $20,000 worth of designs right here. We got the designs. That's the good news.
I picked up the architectural design cost us $25,000, but I finally got them
struggling
done.
and pushing so hard to try to get the Honorable Marcus Garvey Elementary School and the Nat Turner Jean-Jacques Dessalines Gymnasium completed. And we've come up against roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. The first roadblock was getting the plans, the school plans. We finally got the school plans. And to be honest with you, I don't think they were really necessary.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Only repaired. This was not a new construction project. It was a repair project. And now that I look back on it, that $25,000 plus that we spent on the engineering plans, I'm not too sure they were necessary. Contractor that originally designed the campus, the Moyer Academy campus, he told me he would need engineering plans. But there's no way to know if that was him talking or the engineer talking through him. But nonetheless, that was the first roadblock, getting the plans. And getting the plans took us until last spring trying to get some plans. Now remember, first, we had to track down the original plans. I finally found the original architect who did the plans. So we got the plans. But I want to be honest with you guys, and I'm not being critical of the engineer, but he could have redesigned those plans from scratch. And now in retrospect, I can see he didn't want to do that because he wanted to make his job as easy as possible on himself, not really caring about how much time was being lost by FDMG. Because he could have did them plans again. He could have just reconstructed them, but he wanted the originals to make his job easy. And to be honest with you, one day I need to look at the originals and I need to compare them to the new ones just to see how much he actually changed. Because to be honest, brothers and sisters, I don't believe he changed more than maybe 40% of the original design plan. If that, so again, that $25,000, it shouldn't have been that much. Probably should have only been half that, especially given the fact that you went off the original plans. You didn't do them from scratch. You didn't do it from scratch. You went off the original plans and you didn't have to change much. And you made me wait around for damn near a year looking for the originals because you didn't want to design from scratch. We started entertaining bids, right? So from about April, it may have been later than April, to be honest with you, when we got the plans, but just to say from April of 2020 until about September. So that's April, May, June, July, August. So 6 months we were trying to get the right contractors to do the job. I wanted to go with the original contractor who constructed the school in the beginning. So the school was originally different buildings. I think there was a Goodwill. I think the Frederick Douglass High School was once a Goodwill with some other buildings right next to it. And the Marcus Garvey side of the street, those were some other like row homes or something like that. So they took the existing buildings and reconstructed them into the school. And I met the original contractor who did the school from the ground, who reconstructed the buildings into what became the Moyer Academy and what is now the FDMG Academy. And I thought he was going to do the job. And I sent him the plans and everything, and I never heard back from him. And so then I started speaking with other white contractors, and I never heard back from most of them either. And then I started speaking to white plumbers, never heard back from them. White HVAC, never heard back from them. White electricians, never heard back from them. So I believe, brothers and sisters, that some sort of communication went out to all of the white tradesmen to not accept any work on the school. I believe that because there's no way that every single white contractor that came to look at the school never responded to me. None of them ever responded to me, not a single one. They came out, and then once they learned who I was and what the school was, I never heard back from them. You're talking about 1 to 2 dozen contractors. That's just too many people to not hear back from any. There seems to be something systematic because the black ones, many of them were so dishonest with their estimates, so undisciplined with their level of commitment to completing the job. It's just been, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. We just had to let the electrical contractor go because they had overcharged us. So now we have to find another electrical contractor to finish the job because they were charging us 3 times as much as what the project should have costed. And it bothers me because everybody knows we're using the community's money. Now, I do want to say this, and someone brought this to my attention the other day. Part of the reason that the black contractors are trying to overcharge is because they listen to the haters on YouTube. And the haters have people thinking that I'm sitting on millions of dollars. Brothers and sisters, we have not eclipsed $1 million yet, not including any expenditures and expenses. We have not received $1 million in 6 years, 9 months, and however many days. But the haters are putting out there that I've raised millions of dollars and I'm sitting on several million. So if you're a thirsty contractor and you're hearing rumors that Dr. Umar has collected several $1 million, then of course you will, stroke up your estimates on repairs. So I think that might be part of the reason why the black contractors are overcharging us. And let me be clear. I only reached out to black contractors in the beginning. It was only when I realized that they were overcharging me, and I realized that many of them, some of them couldn't do the job. Some of them didn't want to do the job. Some of them didn't want to admit they didn't know how to do the job, or they either wanted to overcharge for the job. So trying to use the black contractors really put me in a bad space. That's why so much time was being wasted, because I kept running across contractors who either wanted too much, right? Or was just giving me the runaround because they didn't want to do the job or didn't know how to do the job. And in most cases, I think it was they didn't know how to do the job, because everybody would have wanted the money. So I think it was more about they were more residential electricians, not commercial electricians, and they didn't want to say that. They were more residential HVACers and not commercial HVACers, and didn't want to say that. They were more residential plumbers and not commercial plumbers, and they didn't want to say that. I think that was a big problem. Many of the people who were coming out didn't want to tell me this is beyond.
Yeah, I knew about it. Again, people have been telling me, but I can't believe that until I have the evidence. Now, there's plenty of video evidence that yes, it is circumstantial, but then tie that to what the information that I was already fed. Everything else panned out to be true. And so based on the source and the credibility of the source, you throw the circumstantial, what we would call classified circumstantial, all together. And yeah, it's clear as day. And I don't know if you guys know about my history too, but I grew up in a household with a drug addict. So I know the behavior patterns. There's a video, mind you, and I know I played it and I showed it, where Umar Johnson, he's doing a live stream. We almost got 1,800 people here. My goodness. Y'all hit the like button. Umar Johnson is doing a live stream. No, it's not a live stream. He's doing this video to promote FDMG. And he's walking around looking like a dope fiend in the video. And he's walking by these steps. And he's walking and he passes the steps. This is up there at the trap band was up in Wilmington, and he happens to look over and there's something that catches his eye on one of the steps. While he's still recording the video to promote the school, it was a big whole production. He turns around. It's impulsive. He can't stop himself. He turns and he's still being recorded. He turns back and he starts walking towards the stairs, where the thing on the step catches his eye, and he motions to the cameraman. He goes like, almost like, hold up. And then he goes over to and sits down right to whatever that is. He sits down and he reaches over and he starts fidgeting with it with his finger, trying to figure out what it is. He realizes that it's just a little white rock, and then he leaves it alone and continues to talk. That's not normal human behavior. That's a crack. Let me not say crack. That's a dope fiend's behavior. People say are you saying he's on crack? I don't know about the crack. I know about the cocaine. Okay. But that right there, that's not normal human behavior. Yeah, it's circumstantial. Yeah. But again, you put all the pieces together. You don't behave like that. I don't behave like that. The people who behave like that are people who are strung out on drugs. And that's Umar Johnson.